So Krystal Ball was once again on CNN, popping another bubble this time, and this one's actually a really crucial sort of belief slash narrative slash bubble that exists in mainstream media, which is that Obama was this amazing president. He was super progressive. Don't ever take a dump on Barack Obama from the left. The only times that we see it is from the right, but and it never can come from the left, despite the fact that Barack Obama was not really much of a progressive president, and really he was pretty much a mealy-mouthed centrist. And so there's this story that's going around. I had heard this story before, which was that Bernie was basically floating the idea of a 2012 primary to Barack Obama. Now everyone's coming out and saying it's not true, like Patrick Leahy, and who's also, I think, another senator of Vermont, and then also Harry Reid, who's the minority leader in the House or in the Senate. So I actually thought the story was legit, but I guess they're changing their minds now. But Krystal Ball goes on CNN, and I want you guys to check this out.
Well, I mean, a couple things. First of all, on the attack itself, I don't know that it's going to be any surprise to voters that Bernie Sanders has been critical of the Democratic Party, right? I don't think that's going to come as a major shock. And look, ultimately, he campaigned for Barack Obama in his 2012 reelect, so there's that too. I do want to, though, zoom out because I think this is an important distinction between Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. And when it looked like the two were going to be really head-to-head juggernauts against each other, this was really going to be the fight. Biden's central case is Trump is an aberration. Let's just get rid of him and go back to the Obama years. And Barack Obama's my friend, et cetera, et cetera. Bernie Sanders is in some ways a repudiation of the Obama legacy. He is saying that era, those politics weren't enough. We need something different. We need something new to respond to those new challenges. So I think that central tension is very interesting. As a particular hit on him, look, it's almost like a thought crime. Like you're not even allowed to think negative thoughts about Barack Obama. I do think that is a little bit silly. And at this point, all of the knives are going to be out for Bernie, but is it too late? You know, people are already voting in Super Tuesday states. He has this massive diverse base. He's got the money and the infrastructure already up. South Carolina happens on Saturday. Super Tuesday is just days away, so it's not a lot of time to ramp up. To be honest, I mean, what is Elizabeth Warren's path at this point, right? She's had disappointing finishes in every one of these primaries so far. So reporters were pressing her to go after Bernie Sanders. Isn't he dangerous? Isn't he toxic? And she said, Michael Bloomberg is the most risky candidate. And they said, well, we asked you about Sanders. She said, I heard you, Michael Bloomberg. To me, I'm wondering, you know, she's starting to look at this and say, maybe my best bet here is for a VP slot. Maybe I can rebuild some of the bridges that have been burned between myself and the Sanders movement and be better positioned there. I'm wondering. I don't know, but that's a question in my mind to watch for tonight.
So as you can see there, she's sort of popping this bubble for them, and you can even kind of see it in her face at that point where basically she's saying, hey, look, dude, Barack Obama wasn't actually that progressive. And Bernie Sanders differs from Joe Biden in that Joe Biden just wants to go back to the Obama days, which was mealy-mouthed centrist garbage, hold hands with the Republican Party, let's get nothing done, yada, yada, yada. Okay, let's do little, barely, incrementally BS policies. Let's be centrists. That was Obama, and so Joe Biden is trying to have a return to that. Bernie Sanders is saying, no, I'm going to actually be a progressive. I'm actually going to fight for you, the worker, you know, the student in college, flooded with student loan debt, the fast food worker who's not making enough money to live, right? Those kinds of people. Whereas Obama was kind of, he's one of them, you know. He's not one of us. That's the thing. He's one of them, you know. He just bought like a massively wealthy Martha's Vineyard home, you know. He's an elitist, you know. He's privileged that he's that guy. He's not in the same group as we are. Bernie Sanders is actually in the same group as we are, and that's the big difference between Bernie and Obama. And so the fact that she's honestly even saying that on there is probably a surprise to these folks of, like, you know, them just being like, wow, oh my goodness, wow, you're actually saying that Obama's not that progressive. It's never talked about on mainstream media about how you can criticize Barack Obama not just from a right-wing perspective, but also from a left-wing one, in which you basically say he was not really progressive, he didn't really do much progressive, if any at all, and so that's what Bernie Sanders is offering here. And so I think that she's bursting a bubble here, even saying that. But, you know, people need to talk about that more, man. Obama's like the sacred no-no in terms of criticizing if you're in the Democratic Party. Democrats love Barack Obama for some reason, even though he was terrible. But once again, Krystal Ball popping another CNN bubble.